Alright, so in all the previous videos when we've been talking about parabolas, the vertex has always been at 0, 0. But it doesn't have to be. Like we said in the first video, the vertex can be anywhere on the coordinate plane. We're still going to use the rules that we saw in the first video for up and down parabolas, and then we saw another rule for right and left parabolas. But here, the only difference is that h and k are going to be different. So let's look at an example of that. We want to write an equation of the parabola whose vertex is at -2, 1 and who has a focus is at -3, 1. Alright, well, since the vertex is not at 0, 0, we have no rule specifically for the focus. So our only other option is to draw a quick sketch of what this parabola might look like. So I'm going to do that. Alright, obviously this is my x-axis, this is my y-axis, and I'm just going to kind of just very roughly plot these points. It doesn't have to be a pretty picture, nothing that you're taking home and putting on the fridge for your mama. Okay, just a rough sketch of what this parabola is going to look like. Alright, so my vertex, let's plot that first. So -2 tells me to go to 2 units to the left and 1 unit up. So my vertex is going to live roughly here. And my focus tells me to go -3, 1. So if this is -2, 1, then -3, 1 is going to be somewhere here. Again, it's just a rough sketch. But what we need to remember from the first video is that the parabola always follows the focus. So that means, and it always goes through the vertex. So my parabola is going to look something like this. So automatically from that information alone, we know we have a right-left parabola. We actually have a left parabola. Okay, now we also know we have a rule for right and left parabolas. It's y minus k squared equals 4p x minus h. Obviously, we already have what h and k are because that's our vertex. It's always alphabetical order. So h is -2, k is +1. Well, what is p? Well, p again is the distance from the focus to the vertex, or the distance from the vertex to the directrix. Here we're going to do the distance from the focus to the vertex because that's the piece of information we have. So again, I'm going to go back to the graph. Let's go ahead and put in our ordered pairs because that's going to help us. Again, our vertex was at -2, 1. Our focus was at -3, 1. So I want to figure out this distance between these 2 points. What is that distance? Well, if I go from -3 to -2, they're on the same line, so I'm just going 1 unit. So to go from here to here, I went 1 unit. Now, obviously, in class, you have access to graph paper. Graph paper might make this a little bit easier to do. Just draw a sketch of the graph and plot the points nicely. I don't have graph paper up here, so it's a little bit rough. But again, that 1 that implies that p equals 1. Okay? So now let's plug in what we know and then come up with the equation for this particular parabola. H was -2, k was +1, and p was +1. So for this particular parabola, I have y minus 1 quantity squared equals 4 times 1 times x minus -2. I want to clean up as much as I can wherever I can. Y minus 1, that's okay, so I'm just going to leave it y minus 1 squared. 4 times 1 is just 4, and x minus -2 is just the same thing as x plus 2. So I've cleaned up this parabola as much as I can. What I could do, I'm not going to, and you do not have to, but you can if you want, is you could simplify this, try to get y by itself. Just be careful, it's not going to be easy. Get y by itself and graph it, and then what you would end up having in the very end is a rough picture that would be a parabola that opens up to the left like this one. And so even though we didn't have our vertex at the origin, it was still the same idea. The only modification we had to make was actually draw a sketch of the parabola. All you have to remember about that, though, is that the parabola always follows the focus, always goes away from the directrix. After that, it's pretty easy to find p, find your h and k from the vertex, and then plug into the rule. And that's it. Let me know if you got questions.